Hey guys, I hope you're having an awesome day today. My name is Steve. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to something that I just heard about in my previous video's comment section, and that is an average speed camera or average speed check. You know, at first when I saw average speed camera written in the comments, I thought maybe they were making a typo or something, but then I saw a number of people talking about both an average speed camera and just a speed camera in the same comment. And so I realized at that point, these have to be two different things. You know, I was honestly pretty surprised that you guys already have speed cameras on your roadways in the UK. I had never seen a speed camera before. I didn't know they were actually in use. Obviously, I knew the technology existed, but I had never come across one. But I did a little bit of research after that video, and it turns out that we do have speed cameras in the US, but they're only in a few states. I think they were actually in 8 states, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, generally speaking, in the US, traffic regulations and rules of the road are made basically on a state by state basis, and in some cases on a jurisdictional basis, like county by county basis. And so, you know, it makes sense that because I haven't lived in any of those states that have the speed cameras, and I've don't really drive through those states, that, you know, because of that, I've just never heard about them. I never knew they were in use in the US. But supposedly they've been in the use in the UK for a very long time. But anyways, guys, I have no idea what an average speed camera is. Well, I don't want to say I have no idea. I do kind of have a general idea what I think it may be, which is insane. I would have never guessed they would have something like what I think this might be. But I'm not sure if I know exactly what this is, but I think it's pretty much what it sounds like. And if it is, that's crazy. That's wild. And I can only imagine that people that aren't prepared for this would be shocked when they probably get a ticket in their mail and maybe points on their license. So if you aren't prepared for something like this, you didn't know it existed, then yeah, I'm sure it would be pretty shocking. But anyways, guys, don't really know what to expect here, but this should be interesting. So let's just go ahead and dive in and check out, can you speed in an average speed check?
Average speed checks are becoming more and more common on our roads. And if you're lucky enough to live outside the handful of countries that use them, I'll bring you up to speed. Unlike a traditional speed camera, average speed cameras always work in pairs, and they cover motorways, city centers, and country roads, making sure that you don't speed. As you're driving along, you'll pass by camera A, which will take a photo of your license plate, your car, and the time to the nearest millisecond. And then further down the road, maybe a half mile to a mile or so, there will be camera B, which will do exactly the same thing. Then by doing some basic GCSE level math, by taking the time it took you to travel between the two cameras and dividing it by the distance, your average speed can be calculated. Hence the name, the average speed check. Now, while they're great at making sure everyone drives at the speed limits, I personally hate the added stress that they bring to driving. And I actively try to avoid roads that have average speed cameras on them, not because I speed, but because it turns driving into a foot balancing act. And sure, if you had cruise control, it would be a lot easier, but me with my little Suzuki Swift, I don't have that luxury. But putting that all aside, perhaps the most infuriating thing about an average speed check zone is that there always seems to be someone overtaking you above the speed limit. Which honestly got me wondering, is there something that I'm not in on? And how accurate are average speed cameras? And just before we start, I am not condoning speeding in an average speed check zone. This is for educational entertainment purposes only. The myths. While researching this topic, there were...
Wow. That is kind of what I was expecting, but I didn't really know exactly how it would work. But that makes total sense. You got a camera on one section of the road, camera A, and then somewhere down the road you have camera B. And then in between, it basically, you know, based off how far the distance is between those two cameras, it sees how long it took you to get from camera A to camera B, and then it can know what your average speed was. That's ingenious, honestly. I would have never thought, that's something I never would have thought they would have created. But yeah, it definitely would keep your speed in check once you knew that. I mean, because, well, I don't know. He says, can you speed? That's the title of this video. So maybe you can get away with it somehow. But sounds like for your average person, you won't be able to. And I wonder, this is a question I have, though. Is it like if you're just like your average speed was 1 or 2 miles per hour above the speed limit, are you literally getting a ticket and points on your license for that? Or is it something like if you were caught going 10 miles per hour average of the speed limit, that's when it would kick in? Because I feel like if they're going to get you for going like, say 5 miles per hour or less over the speed limit on average, that's a little bit, ridiculous because, based off of certain factors, I mean, coasting and whatnot, sometimes you go a little bit faster. I don't know. I think, but I do believe that could be good for, like if, in areas where people tend to go like 20 miles per hour over the speed limit, 30 miles per hour over the speed limit. Yeah, definitely would be good in those situations. But let's go and continue. I want to see what he has to say about this.
2 points that came up again and again. The first one being that if you change lanes, you can trick the average speed cameras, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be.
The fact that
they took a picture of your license plate.
Phones to see our locations, you think an average speed camera can't see that you've shifted lane?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Are you crazy? And secondly, that they're not on at night.
Of course they are.
Average speed cameras are fitted with infrared lights so they can see your number plate.
That would just be common sense.
You're not going to get away with speeding at night. With that now out of the way, let's focus on the real question. Speed. And those who do in an average speed check either fall into one of two categories. Group 1, the super speeders. The first of those are those who speed well over like 60 and a 50. And as I've personally noticed, they're almost exclusively driving company vans, Range Rover Evokes, or a car that looks like it's about to fall apart with no MOT and no insurance. And to be honest, all these people just don't care about the fines. Either the car isn't in their name, or they'll just pay someone else to take the blame, claiming that they weren't driving at the time, which sure is super illegal, but people do it. And even recently, the Member of Parliament for Peterborough was caught doing it, where she paid off her lodger to take the blame, but then getting caught because his passport records show that he wasn't in the country at the time that she went through the speed camera. Like, what? Group 2.
So one thing I'd like to say is, so it sounds like you don't actually get points on your license for these speeding tickets in the average speed zone. He said you get a fine, but do you not get points on your license? I guess some people are just willing to pay a fine. If they're not losing their license over it, it's probably not a big deal to them. It would be a big deal to me. I wouldn't want to have to deal with that constantly. That'd just be ridiculous to constantly have to pay these fines and whatnot. But, one thing that potentially I can see some of those people that may be getting away with this doing is taking that, I forget what you call it, but they make this spray on stuff that basically makes it to where your license plate number is invisible to cameras and whatnot. And so that's possibly what they're doing in that situation. Otherwise, I can't figure out how people would be getting away with it. I don't think they could. They're probably just paying the ticket, I guess.
2, the law abiders. The other group of people are those who speed very minimally, about 3 to 4 miles an hour above the speed limit.
Okay.
And it seems to be that they can get away with it due to 3 main factors. Factor 1, lying speedos. The first is that every speedo in every car is under recording your GPS speed, which is the one that the speed cameras read. You see, speedos in cars base your speed off the wheel rotation. Hence, if you've ever wheel spun or ice or mud, you would have seen your speedo go way up over 100.
Right.
But yet, you're not going anywhere. Car manufacturers by law can't underreport your speed, so instead they overreport it. And the law states to be on the safe side.
I didn't know that.
But it can be 10% plus 6.25 miles an hour.
What?
So effectively, your car could be reading on the speedo that you're traveling at 50 and a quarter miles an hour, but in reality, you're only traveling at 40.
What?
Now, that is on the extreme end. But research by Auto Express found that most cars are underreporting by 1 to 2 miles an hour compared to their actual speed. A minor difference, I know, but enough for you to go a little bit faster in an average speed check.
Interesting.
Factor 2, bendy roads. The second is that average speed checks are rarely conducted on straight roads. Every road, whenever you like it or not, is going to have a slight curve or bend to it. So, for the cameras to be as accurate as possible, they have to assume that every car has traveled the shortest distance possible between the two cameras. So what does this mean?
Yeah,
similarly to why runners are stacked on a racing track, is when they get to the corner, the inside runner will be traveling a shorter distance than those on the outside. Hence, in an average speed check zone, increasing the average speed. Now, this is going to be very lenient on where the cameras are located, but it's certainly going to make a very small difference, maybe a few miles an hour, to your actual recorded speed when you go through an average speed check. And factor 3, The 10% plus 2 rule. Thirdly and finally is the infamous rule of 10% plus 2. It's widely reported that speed cameras don't clock you if you observe the 10% plus 2 mile/hour rule above the speed limit. However, I'm going to be honest, this is incredibly wishy-washy and there is absolutely no proof that this is real or true. So for this, I'm just going to leave it out of the equation and focus on the other 2 factors as being a little bit more realistic. So, in conclusion, if I'm traveling in an average speed check zone, I can likely go 1 to 2 miles an hour above the speed limit, accounting for an incorrect reading in my speedo and curvature of the road. But anything higher is going to be risking it. And just to be clear, I'm not condoning speeding, and there is absolutely no excuse for speeding in a construction zone. So
No,
this
don't
whole
do that.
video, take it with a pinch of salt, and hopefully it's answered those questions about how people always seem to be overtaking you in an average speed check. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.
Oh man, okay. That's interesting, guys. Another thing that I didn't know existed until the comment section of a video. I learned so much in the comment sections of my videos. But anyways, guys, this is wild. I had no idea this existed. And now I'm curious, do these exist at all in the US? I never heard of speed cameras, so you can imagine I've never heard of average speed cameras in the US either. I'm gonna look this up and see if they're in the US, but I know they're nowhere near me. I've never seen anything like it. So, but yeah, I can imagine you put these in. It's one of those things that once people know they're there, all they have to do is get their first ticket, and they're going to be careful, or they're going to take another road to get where they're going. But have you ever gone through one of these and received a ticket? And I'm curious if anyone knows, what is it literally, like I was asking earlier, is it literally down to the exact speed, or does it give you a little bit of a break if you're only going, 3, 4, 5 miles per hour over? Generally speaking, yeah, I don't condone speeding. When I was younger, I was like a lot of young kids driving around in their teens and early 20s and felt like I had to get somewhere really fast. I'm nowhere near the speed demon I once was. I generally go the speed limit, maybe 5 or 6 miles per hour over. But it can get hard when you're on these really long stretches of road. If I'm traveling to see my family, which live many states away, the speed can get away from you, because if you have no other cars around you, you're on a straightaway and you're just like driving, you've got like 12 hours left to go. It can be really hard to stay at that 65 or 70 mile per hour speed limit that they have set. But I try to do it, but this would definitely be a technology that would make me think twice about speeding. So that's a good thing, I guess. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestion about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow me on my journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. Till next time, guys. Peace.